What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Betting Edge podcast, brought to you by OddsJam.com, home to the #1 sports betting tools in the industry. I am your host, Anthony Servino. Follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. Follow the show at OddsJam. We can be found at all the top social media and podcast platforms. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to go over some of the best bets to make on Thanksgiving Day, a 3-game slate, starting off with the Bears visiting the Detroit Lions. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Las Vegas Raiders, followed by the nightcap, the New Orleans Saints hosting the Buffalo Bills. Let's go to the plus EV page over here at oddsjam.com. Let's see and scroll through and see what bets are available that you can make right now. And these things are updated in real time. You hit the refresh button and you can see a bet there 1 minute, gone the next. So be sure to be quick when you find something you do like. And 11:25 is, of course, Thanksgiving Day. And the first EV betting opportunity, DeAndre Swift's total rushing yards set at 60.5. It is a 4.02 plus EV profitable wager, minus 114 odds at FanDuel for the over, and Pinnacle or the OddsJam perfect line, which comes from Pinnacle, the sharpest odds in the world, is set at minus 145. DeAndre Swift really is all the Detroit Lions have on offense. I mean, let's face it, their wide receiver core is decimated. Their quarterback, if we do see Jared Goff, he wasn't really great with the Los Angeles Rams. Never mind with a depleted pass-catching group in Detroit. So it's DeAndre Swift or bust. The only bad thing is they're going to get a Bears defense that is excellent at stopping the run. Where you can beat Chicago's defense is by throwing at them. But DeAndre Swift, he's a dynamic player, and he should be able to get going against just about any opponent. As we saw last week, he broke a big one that really made his day. So let's pull up DeAndre Swift here and let's see what he's done in recent memory. And DeAndre Swift has gone over the 60.5 rushing yard mark. In each of his past 2 games, he's popped for over 130 yards rushing. Against Pittsburgh and Cleveland, 2 pretty good front sevens. And going back, he has not gone over 60 yards at all this season. Really, DeAndre Swift has been getting the job done with his receptions and with his receiving yards. But in the past 2 games, DeAndre Swift has gotten going. Saw 33 carries, by far a season high against Pittsburgh. Only 14, but again, broke a couple of big ones against Cleveland last week. I'm going to go ahead and I will take the over on DeAndre Swift rushing yards. Again, even if we get a backup quarterback and not Jared Goff, or even if we do get Jared Goff, DeAndre Swift should be the featured back, and Chicago presents a little bit of a tougher matchup. But again, it's DeAndre Swift. He's a dynamic back. He can break them at any time. In his career, DeAndre Swift has been stifled a little bit against Chicago. Let's call it what it is. He's gone for fewer than 16 yards rushing in the 2 games he's faced them last season, but this is a different back. Like DeAndre Swift is a little bit banged up early, didn't really get going until the second half. So he's had 8 and 3 carries in the 2 games last year. We really can't we really can't pay too much attention to that. Actually, one of the games last year he didn't play. This last meeting, I'm wrong, was in October of this season. He goes 8 for 16 and 4 for 33 as a receiver. I'm still going to take the over on the rushing yards. This is a different DeAndre Swift as we've seen from earlier in the season. Like earlier this year was dealing with the groin injury. He seems to be the healthiest he's been, running the best that he's been. And Anthony Lynn, the offensive coordinator, is an excellent running backs coach. coach as well. So I'll take the over here. It should be a big-time DeAndre Swift game on Thanksgiving, especially if the Detroit Lions want to keep it close. Another plus EV betting opportunity here is on the point spread. If you take the under, 19 points isn't a lot of points. And this is the NFL. That's 2 touchdowns. It's 14, 15, 16, 17, an extra point. 2 touchdowns, 2 extra points, 2 field goals hit you the over. So really a 10-10 first half goes over, but these two teams struggle to score points. The better betting opportunity is on the under, plus 145 odds at DraftKings. The OddsJam perfect line set at plus 130. It is dangerously low. I'm probably going to fade it. It's only a 2.63% plus EV wager. It's not like, it's at 4, 5, 9%, something like that, where it's worth taking a shot. It's really not. You're better off fading this plus EV betting opportunity. But one that I do like at 2.6% is the Detroit Lions to cover the 4.5 points. And this OddsJam perfect line set at minus 182. You can get this at minus 154 at Fox Bet. This is going to be a really, really close football game. The Bears are going to be with Andy Dalton, not their dynamic Justin Fields rookie quarterback who's been getting going of late. Detroit could really shock and win this game. They'll at least keep it really, really close. I do like the Detroit Lions to cover plus 4.5. Now, if you can get a profitable wager on Chicago to cover 2.5, 3 points, I would take that. But anything more than 3 points, like 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, I like the Detroit Lions to cover the spread. Going into this Dallas Cowboys Raiders game, Derek Carr passing touchdown total is set at 1.5. The profitable wager is on the under. It's a 10% plus EV bet for Derek Carr to go under 1.5. It's plus 120 odds at Fox, minus 115 either way with the OddsJam perfect line. But again, the big-time profitable bet is on Derek Carr to go under. So what has Derek Carr done recently? And we know what. He lost Henry Ruggs. They replaced him with Desean Jackson. Now, if you want a sneaky anytime touchdown scorer wager, Desean Jackson historically has killed the Dallas Cowboys. He hasn't done anything yet with the Raiders, but if there is any game where Desean Jackson can possibly do something, it's this one. Trevon Diggs, one of the best corners in the league, extremely opportunistic. When you are opportunistic, that means you're going to give up the big play while you're trying to make the big play. And Desean Jackson, we know, still has the burners to break a big one. I like Desean Jackson's anytime touchdown scorer prop on Thanksgiving. But back to Derek Carr. Derek Carr has thrown for 1 touchdown pass in 2 out of his past 3 games. Consequently, the past 3 games is when he has not had Henry Ruggs. In every other game but one this season, going into that Week 8 bye when Henry Ruggs made the unfortunate life-changing mistake, Derek Carr has thrown for 2 touchdown passes in all but 1 game. Again, in the 3 games since the bye, he's thrown for 1 against the Giants, 2 against Chiefs, 1 against Cincinnati, and now you get the Cowboys. Last week, Brian Edwards, one of their receivers, didn't even get a target. We know Hunter Renfrow is going to be busy. They're outstanding at tight end with Darren Waller, but not a lot outside of Hunter Renfrow and maybe Desean Jackson at receiver. So I would take the under here at a 10% plus EV wager on Derek Carr. This one can legit go either way, but, contrary to what I said, we're going to fade the 19-point under because it's only 2.64%. I'm going to take the chance on Derek Carr's under 1.5 touchdown passes because as a 10% profitable wager, if it hits, again, plus 120 over at Fox Bet right now. Let's go to this Bills-Saints game. There's a couple of them here. Josh Allen over 31.5 rushing yards. It's It's a 4.84% plus EV bet for him to go over, and you can get minus 117 odds across the board. Barstool, Sugar House, Twin Spires, Unibet, they all share the same odds. It is a minus 153 odds wager over at the OddsJam Perfect line. So it's a really high probability of this thing hitting. What did the Saints do really well? Well, they stuffed the run. However, they seem to struggle against quarterbacks that can scramble. We saw that a lot last week against Jalen Hurts. Now, Josh Allen is not Jalen Hurts, but Josh Allen, we know, can run with the football in his hands. Let's look at the Saints here. In terms of production allowed to the quarterback, they've given up 197 rushing yards to the quarterback this season. They've given up over 31.5 yards to two different quarterbacks, Taylor Heineke in week 5, Jalen Hurts 69 last week. So what quarterbacks weren't able to run on him? Well, Aaron Rodgers doesn't run a lot. Sam Darnold doesn't really run a lot. Mac Jones went for 28 yards, but he's not a really running quarterback. Daniel Jones goes for 27, but they try to make him a pocket passer. Geno Smith, he's an afterthought. Tom Brady, obviously not a running quarterback. Matt Ryan, not a running quarterback. So to guys that could really get going, like a Josh Allen, this is a pretty good wager here at over 31.5 yards. The two that came close, Mac Jones and Daniel Jones, they came really close to 31.5, and more so Mac Jones. He's not really known for his rushing ability, so they came pretty close. I would say Josh Allen is a better rusher of the football at the quarterback position than Mac Jones, and Daniel Jones, he's a lot closer to, let's say, well, obviously not Jalen Hurts, but a lot closer, maybe a step above Taylor Heineke, a big step above him. So I like the over here. Let's just double check what Josh Allen has done this season as a rusher at the quarterback position. Josh Allen has gone over 31.5 yards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So the probability of this hitting against the New Orleans Saints is fairly high. The next plus EV wager in this game is on the point spread in the first half. The profitable bet is for the Saints to cover 3.5 points. Plus 100 odds at FanDuel, 3.82% plus EV wager, minus 116 OddsJam perfect line. Pretty good probability of this hitting. Now, for the entire game, I actually like the New Orleans Saints to cover. They are a different team at home. Their defense really steps up at home. The crowd gets into it. So to get 3.5 points in the first half, Buffalo, they haven't really been dominant of late. Dropping that game to Houston Jacksonville a couple of weeks back really doesn't help their cause. They got blown away by Indy last week. So 2 out of their past 3 games, completely different Buffalo Bills team. Maybe a little bit of lack of confidence, and now they're going to go on the road to a really tough place to play, like New Orleans, who gives guys like Tom Brady fits in New Orleans. So I'm going to take New Orleans to cover the 3.5 points in the first half. I also love New Orleans to cover for the entire, game, obviously. Another first half wager on the total, 22.5 points, at 2.5% plus EV wager to go under 22.5 points in the first half, plus 105 at Fox, minus 107 OddsJam perfect line. Couple of more points that we're talking about with the Detroit-Chicago game. Only this Buffalo Bills and Saints, they can put up points, obviously, offensively. 2 of the better offensive, scoring teams in the NFL. Obviously, the better one is the Buffalo Bills, but New Orleans can also score the football. Now, defensively, these teams are pretty tight. The Buffalo Bills on defense are giving up the second fewest points. The Saints on defense, the 10th fewest points. The Bills on offense, the second most. The Saints on offense, the 14th most. So a little bit more variance offensively, a lot tighter on defense. But again, the Saints at home, really, really tough. This is a lot closer than you would think. But with this close under, I might fade it just because, again, a 10-10 first half between these two football teams. So it's 10-10, 13, a 13-10 first half score loses you this bet at 23 total points. So I'm going to fade it. Again, it's only 2.5%, I believe, plus EV wager, whereas that Derek Carr win at 10%, you take that in a heartbeat. You take that chance. These 2.5s, 2.64s, you fade it. Go find a better bet elsewhere, or hope, hit that refresh button in real time. Maybe a better one pops up. I'm going to go over a couple of more bets that I like for this Thanksgiving Day slate before we go. In this Cowboys game, the big injuries in Dallas at wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb not expected to play, dealing with the concussion. We already know Amari Cooper is going to be ruled out. And we know, well, they really couldn't get anything going against the Chiefs. Well, the biggest player for the Dallas Cowboys coming back is Tyron Smith. I say it all the time. Tyron Smith is as big of a loss as Dak Prescott. He is that valuable to the offensive line, to that offense, to that football team, both run and pass blocking. Tyron Smith I'd rather have a healthy Tyron Smith playing than a healthy CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and no Tyron Smith. We saw how this offense struggled, like Dak last week couldn't put no drops didn't help last week against Kansas City, but Dak wasn't exactly on point with the ball. He will be more on point with Tyron Smith in the football game. They'll be able to run. They'll be able to pick teams apart. So I think while people are going to try to fade Dallas out of what happened last week against Kansas City, Tyron Smith's going to make a big time difference. They're going to get the running game going behind Zeke. Dalton Schultz is a player that I love in this football game. So I believe Dallas is going to be able to cover the 7 points. But what I want to do here, I want to go to this game and I want to take a look at the props for Dalton Schultz, because Dalton Schultz is going to be really busy. The Raiders give up some production to the tight end position, and I want to look at player receiving yards. Let's go to Dalton Schultz, 49.5. This guy, when he gets going, he's a force. He's not Travis Kelce. He's not Darren Waller, but I don't know how far behind. Dalton Schultz is really putting it together. And I think maybe he's a year away from really breaking out breaking out as one of the better tight ends in the NFL. But let's pull Dalton Schultz up now. His receiving yards are set at 49.5 and 50.5, depending on what sports book you're going to get. So 49.5, the over minus 120 at DraftKings. You can get the same odds at Fox Bet and Barstool in those at minus 120, minus 114 at 50.5 at Barstool. I would rather play it safe and take the 49.5 at minus 120 odds at DraftKings and Caesars. Now, Dalton Schultz this season has gone over 49.5 yards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So we know they like to use Dalton Schultz, and he's getting a pretty soft teams. Like the Raiders have given up the third most fantasy points to the tight end position. And I know this isn't fantasy, but you could blend fantasy and player props. And when you're giving up that type of production, there's a good chance that these overs are going to hit. Now, let's also go to Dalton Schultz's reception total. I'm all in on Dalton Schultz this week. I'm going to build DFS lineups around Dalton Schultz. So let's look at player total receptions. Again, Dalton Schultz, it's not even up there. So watch out for it. I'm going to assume it's going to be right around 4.5, maybe 5.5 because of these Cowboys injuries at receiver. So watch out. I'm sure the books will put them up eventually. But in terms of these players that are available, you look at Darren Waller set at 5.5, minus 138 odds, your best bet at FanDuel. Hunter Renfrow, 5.5, minus 114 at FanDuel. Both of them have a realistic shot at going over. Listen, there's nothing else outside of Kenyon Drake that can really effectively catch the football. So expect Derek Carr to target Renfrow and Darren Waller early and often. The other guy I like is Kenyon Drake, but we don't have Kenyon Drake. We have Josh Jacobs over 3.5 plus 125. The better bet is the under because Kenyon Drake is really the primary pass catching back for the Las Vegas Raiders. But that's going to do it for today's show. I gave you some of the bets that I really, really like for Thanksgiving Day. Gave you my thoughts on the plus EV wagers available and some of my best bets for Dalton Schultz in this Cowboys-Raiders matchup. I hope you enjoyed this one. My name is Anthony Servino. Follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. Follow the show at OddsJam. We can be found at all the top social media and podcast platforms. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification icon so you can be notified anytime OddsJam drops new content.